What's up everyone, Joe Gray here today to talk about the Shogun FLEX. These are like if you took a giant cable machine and squished it down into one of those tiny little travel cereal boxes. So they come inside a travel carrying case, which has a bunch of attachments and accessories. They have a whole line of additional accessories to help you get more out of the FLEXes. The device itself connects to your phone via Bluetooth, which runs an app that lets you adjust the resistance and a bunch of other cool different settings and all kinds of nifty stuff. We're going to start off looking at the general concept, build, construction, etc. of the FLEX, the carry case, all the attachments and accessories. Then we'll dive into the app itself and talk about the performance of the Shogun FLEX itself, and then wrap up with a kind of overview as to who are these for, who are they not, what my general thoughts are, so that way you can make a decision as to whether these are right for you or not. Quick housekeeping items. Shogun was nice enough to send both of the FLEX units as well as all of the accessories and attachments and stuff to me for sake of review, completely free. Obviously my goal is to be transparent and honest no matter what I do here. Hopefully that comes through in the review. If you decide at the end of this that you want to buy these, I do have an affiliate link which gives me a small kickback as well as a discount code which saves you some money. So if you want to buy these for your space, please use those. It supports me, saves you some cash, all good. All right, let's dig in. Each Shogun FLEX comes in a travel case. This is likely firm enough to be packed into a suitcase, manhandled by airport security, and come out the other end perfectly fine. Inside, it includes just about everything you would need to get in a basic workout. You have the FLEX itself and an assortment of cable attachments, including a D-handle, an ankle strap, and a tricep strap. If you have a full wall of cable attachments like I do, these are not exactly going to be your go-to. However, for the purposes of what this is, trying to put everything into a travel case, these are really well thought out. You could basically do and hit every muscle group in some fashion by utilizing the 3 attachments that they've included and get really creative. Also included in the travel case is some accessory straps that allow you to attach the FLEXes to a couple of different places. So one is a foot strap, so you can stand inside this and do curls, rows, and other movements from the floor. The other is a door strap, which allows you to literally put these in a door and anchor them just like you would some bands and some other things like that. So you can put them under the door, to the side of the door, on top of the door, and get pretty creative and kind of set up a functional trainer of sorts with just your door and these. The foot strap and the door strap are very similar to the cable attachments. They aren't the smoothest or best that I've ever used, but they are effective. So for the door strap, you'll see that there's a lot of movement and shake because there's quite a bit of slack that can lend itself to having the FLEXes bounce off of your door and wall. And similar with the foot strap is you have that slack, and then when you kind of let go, it can fall down to the ground. So not the best solutions, but again, they fit in the travel case, they work for the intended purpose, they're pretty good. Then they have these cages that attach in 2 different places. So one is a rack attached piece. It should work with any basic standard rack with holes. There's some adjustments there. The pins themselves are small enough that they should fit in pretty much any hardware size, but they can also be tightened very well, so then that way it will eat up any slop that you might have. Because they swivel, and because they can be moved up and down the rack fairly easily, you again have a pseudo functional trainer type style workout here where you can do curls and things from the bottom as well as rows and stuff from the top, crossovers from the middle, whatever you come up with. They also have a platform which uses these rail system for the other cages, so then that way you can do movements from the floor. The last option is this rail system. So these are meant to be able to be drilled into your wall, into studs, so then that way you can actually connect the FLEXes to any wall in your house, in your garage, whatever it might be. So this would give you the opportunity to, say, set up a cable system in a small bedroom. If you had an apartment or some really cramped space, these would work. As you can see, I have all of mine stored on my mass storage. Literally everything they've sent me stacks up and would fit in a fairly small box, can sit on top of each other and takes up almost no space. This would easily fit under a bed or in a small closet, and you wouldn't even notice that it was there until it was time to pull out and use it. You would be able to take these inside, outside, move them, maybe even travel with them if necessary, and get a good workout in. Keep in mind that the cable attachments come with the Flex itself, as well as the foot and the door attachment piece. Everything else I mentioned is an additional cost. So if those are things that you are looking at, the price starts to stack up. So if you wanted to grab all of these accessories as well as 2 Flex units, as of publishing this video, you're looking at spending just over $1,000. So I wouldn't exactly call that a budget-friendly option. You can probably snag a plate-loaded cable tower for around 500 bucks. But if we're comparing it to something somewhat similar, the Beyond Power Voltra are about $2,000 a piece. So we are still in a better budget-friendly realm compared to the other tech devices like this. You're obviously going to give up some stability for a strap that is this big. Obviously, they cannot fit a full assortment of mag grip attachments in a travel case. Those kinds of things you are foregoing for what this is. So in general, keeping in mind that this is a portable piece of gym equipment, I think they've done a very good job around designing all of the pieces to the puzzle. All right, let's take a look at the app and the performance of the Shogun FLEX itself. With the Shogun FLEX, you absolutely have to use the Shogun FLEX app. There is no way to adjust any of the resistance or settings or anything without the app. The good news is that it's pretty straightforward. Download the app, quick pairing process via Bluetooth on your phone, and you're in. They offer lifetime access to a no subscription required service that gives you a whole host of workouts and exercise options and different things inside the app. It's not something I'm particularly interested in, but it is available if you choose so. Instead, we're gonna look at the kind of resistance profiles and the different modes and leave that piece alone. The app will let you adjust the resistance from 4 pounds to 44 pounds per Flex unit. So for something like what I have with 2, you can actually connect them together to one cable attachment, which would give you up to 88 pounds. Technically, you can connect multiple Flex units into the one app and sync them all together. So then that way you can adjust the weight up and multiply it by the amount of Flex units you have and get up to a pretty high resistance profile. But of course, that's a pretty heavy investment and things get a little wild when you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different straps and everything coming at you. It would probably be chaotic. So I think most people are going to be looking at having 1 or 2 of these to mimic, again, a functional trainer, cable system, that kind of thing. I mentioned syncing 2 together, so you have the option to use them individually, so set a different weight per Flex, or sync them together, so then that way when you make adjustments on one, it automatically makes the adjustments on the second one. You have your adjustments from 4 to 44 pounds, which again, you just simply swipe and move, or you can use the plus or minus buttons to go up or down 1. I do find that the swiping is a little inconsistent. It can be a bit annoying if you're trying to go from, say, a set of 10 to a set of 40 in terms of resistance back and forth. Say you're doing a superset of, I don't know, rows and curls or something like that. It's not super smooth. I had the same issue with the Voltra. You kind of swipe, 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 swipe kind of thing. Instead of like a stack loaded piece, you just move the pin, or pull plate on a plate loaded, that kind of thing. Another hiccup that I found with the app is that if you do have multiple flex units, so again, I've got two, there's no delineation between the physical units themselves and what they show up as in the app. So let me explain. If, let's say, I'm doing tricep extensions with one flex unit and I set it to 40 pounds, and my daughter is doing tricep extensions with the other flex unit and is using 15 pounds, if I select those two weights in the app, I don't know which flex unit I adjusted the weight on to be the 40 and the 15 without simply going up and trying them. It might be nice if there was a way to either see on the backside of the flex that there's a serial number or something, or even better would be if you could maybe change the LED light around the power. So one might be the red one while the other one is white, or something that's quick and easy to say, hey, I adjusted A to be 40 and B to be 10 would be nice. We also have the ability to overload and manipulate the eccentric and concentric portions of the lift. So a typical recommendation might be, say you can curl 20 pounds, you might set the concentric, so the lifting portion, to 20 while setting the eccentric, which is the lowering, to say 30 pounds. So we can manipulate it up to a 50% increase, which would fall in range there. Now, the hiccup here is that we can still only use a maximum of 44 pounds, meaning that, let's say instead of curling 20, we curl 40 pounds. Well, you can't increase 40 pounds by 50% because that would be 60, and you can't go over 44 pounds. So there's a limit to the overload abilities of the eccentric and concentric features based off of how close you are to that maximum of 44 pounds. They have a constant setting, which is meant to kind of mimic a flywheel, where the harder you pull, the more it pulls back. After using a K-box for the majority of the year, an actual flywheel system, I did not exactly find this to mimic that. If you're actually interested in flywheel training, this is not the same thing. You gotta get the real deal. They also have a chain setting, which mimics the accommodating resistance features of chains. So again, back to our curl, if you were to start at the bottom, it would be lighter. As you got to the top, it would be heavier, but it would work through that range as opposed to just overloading the concentric or eccentric like the other setting, and then would again lower and get lighter as you went. This works as intended, and I think this is a little bit more straightforward because instead of it basing off of what you put into it, it's just changing as it goes through the rep range. The last setting is called generation, which is meant to actually charge the battery. So you pull and it fights you, and then after that, it basically turns off the resistance on the eccentric portion, so then that way it can use whatever inertia and energy you put in to put back into the battery. It's a cool feature. Say you were out and about and you killed most of the battery, you have no access to a power outlet or any way to charge. You might be able to get in part of or most of a workout by simply using that setting instead of just saying, oops, can't do it today. It's not something you would probably use in your home gym or even inside very often, but again, if you're going to use these out and about moving, say you took them in your RV or a road trip or something, this might come in handy. The general usage of the app is fairly streamlined and easy. In the entire time we've had it, I've only been logged out of the app once, and that was because I had to reset my phone entirely. I've only had it disconnect and forget the Flex apps, so have to remove them and then re-add them once as well, and that was because I did a firmware update on the Flex themselves. So in general, it works pretty smoothly. I'm not logging in or having to open up the app and redo things. Even setting up today for this filming, I tried to connect to some of my lights and the app didn't work. As someone who is used to a lot of apps for different tech pieces that have their hiccups and frustrations, this doesn't seem to be that. This is a well done app in general. One thing we have to be concerned about with an app or tech of any kind is that although they claim a lifetime free access, there's always the opportunity that they change that, or maybe they move on to a Shogun FLEX 2, or you don't get a new phone, the app updates and it doesn't work anymore, or you do get a new phone, they don't update the app and it doesn't work anymore. When you're talking about technology, there are a lot of ways for things to kind of go wrong and just stop working altogether. You could one day wake up, work out with these, and they're perfectly fine, and the next day wake up and they're a brick. Let's say I'm inside on my phone that has the app and is paired to the devices, and my wife is out here trying to do a workout. If I'm on a phone call, she can't exactly come in and take my phone to be able to use with them. So now she has to have the app on her phone paired to the devices as well. So there are a number of hiccups that present themselves when you are forced to use an app instead of it being an optional piece to the puzzle. All right, let's take a look at the build of the Flex units themselves and their overall performance in our gym. The Flex itself is a nice, mostly rubber-coated case. This helps with some of the potential impact when using the door strap, slight drops to the floor with the foot strap, and overall seems to keep it in one piece. In the 8 months we've had them, while we weren't using them as our only cable option, we haven't seen any degradation in the battery, dents, or dings in the unit itself, or anything that tells us that we are looking at issues in the immediate future. The Flex unit has a strap instead of a cable that's attached to the carabiner that you use for your cable attachments. Typically, I probably wouldn't like that because it has the ability to get twisted and turned. But in testing, I actually did that on purpose, wrapped it up all around and tried to see would it feed back and forth, and it did. There didn't seem to be any issues. I obviously wouldn't recommend that you do that on purpose, but it does not seem to cause any problems in terms of in the middle of the set, reps, how it feels, all that stuff, or cause any actual damage to the unit or the strap itself. The strap is only 4.5 feet long though, which at my 6-foot frame can be a little short for some of the longer range of motion exercises like say lateral raises. You could hook up a daisy chain or some type of extender to it to get an extended range, but again, we're talking about a compact piece that we want to be able to travel with. That means one extra thing we've got to throw in the case and take with us. Each of the Flex units comes with a 1-year warranty, but there's a couple of things that are a little sketchy to me on the website. It does say that within that 1 year, they will help you try and kind of problem solve the issues or replace your units. There is no mention of fixing, so my concern becomes you get outside of that 1-year warranty, they're no longer going to support you, and you now have a brick because there is no way to take these apart, service them, fix the individual piece, replace pieces, or anything like that. Much like with my Voltra 1s, the battery is really the key piece to the puzzle here, as your battery is what generates all of the power. So if you are using 44 pounds for a set of 15 reps versus 20 pounds for a set of 15 reps, you will use much more battery at that 44-pound set. So the more reps, the more weight, the more sets you do, the more battery you will use. That said, I performed an entire upper body workout with this, doing 8 working sets mixed up of rows, curls, cable crossovers, lateral raises, and some other tinkering and warm-up sets, and used about 30% of the battery. I think most people will get at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 workouts in per battery before needing to charge. Okay, and the big elephant in the room, or maybe this is the tiny elephant in the room, is the 44 pounds of maximum resistance. So for someone like myself, 44 pounds, even combined with 2 of 88 pounds, is nowhere near enough for the majority of back work. Pull downs, it's not enough. Seated rows, it's not enough. I cannot do RDLs. I cannot do a lot of different things with that. At least not in terms of getting an effective workout. I could do a whole bunch of reps. We're talking 30, 40 plus or whatever, but it's not gonna work. I can, however, do a lot of other accessory stuff. Curls, some triceps work depending on what it is. Lateral raises, even some chest crossovers and things like that work pretty well. For somebody like my wife, who's considerably smaller than I am, the 44 pounds works for everything but, again, some rows, RDLs, that kind of stuff. So she can do all but maybe one or two things, whereas I'm missing out on maybe about half of the stuff that I would do. So the question is going to come down to how strong, how big are you? What kind of exercises do you plan to do with these? And do you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more of these to be able to execute that? And how does that look in terms of a budget? Okay, so where does all of this take us? Well, in general, the Shogun Flexes work pretty well. I'm actually impressed by how smooth they are, their durability, the inclusion of attachments and accessories, and the additional accessories really do allow you to get fairly creative in a almost negligible amount of space, whether you're inside, outside, or anywhere else. You could travel with these, throw them in the back of your car, take them on a road trip, head to the beach. You could, they are TSA approved in the carrying cases, so you could actually travel with them on a plane. You have a lot of opportunities if this is something that you are looking to take with you or make them disappear when not in use. As we know, with anything tech, there is a lifespan. I mentioned the 1-year warranty. You could hit 1 year and a day and be totally crapped out. In fact, when I first posted these to Reddit that I got them, I already had somebody comment saying that one of theirs showed up dead on arrival and they had to file a warranty claim, which wasn't the smoothest process. And of course is the budget. Starting off with just 2 puts you at about $600 on their own, which again comes with the cable attachments and the basic accessories. And if you want to get further into that ecosystem with the platform and the rack pieces and the wall rails, you are looking at over $1,000, and that can be a tough pill to swallow for such a low resistance profile piece. If you are a smaller athlete in general, I think you can consider these. My wife could probably get the vast majority of her workout done with these. My daughter most certainly could. My mom most certainly could. A lot of people who are not pushing the boundaries and consistently trying to get stronger and stronger and stronger, just looking for a good workout, these would give you an opportunity. And because they do so much in such a small space, again, you could take them with you. Maybe you live the van life, these would fit there. No matter what your space looks like, these can be adjusted to fit, travel with you, go to different places, and accomplish a lot. Now, what about a fully decked out space like mine, where I've got multiple athletes, different shapes and sizes? How do these fit in? Well, you're not gonna find them replacing my FT2 or my Voltras anytime soon, but they do a couple of things that the others struggle to do sometimes. One is the portability aspect. These are much easier to take inside on very hot days, still get in a decent workout without having to try and drag so much stuff in. Number 2 is they connect into other pieces very well. Because they're so small, because of the different straps, because of all of the ways that you can connect them to things, I've been able to set them up for reverse hypers on my Freak Athlete Hyper Pro, been able to use them with my Prime Shorty bench, and get really creative to use these in a number of ways that even the Voltra struggles to do sometimes. So there's definitely a possibility where this fits into a gym like mine, even if they only get pulled out for some of that extra wacky, fun, creative, DIY hack type stuff. So If something like this jives with what you're looking for, if you're looking for a portable piece, something to connect in to other pieces, take with you, set up in an apartment or under your bed or whatever, and you have the budget and it fits within that resistance profile for yourself as an athlete, then I have no hesitation recommending these. We have actually enjoyed using them and having them in our space for those specific purposes. You just have to know what these are, how they work, etc., which hopefully you know now because you watched the video. For the rest of you, these are probably a skip. This is not something that's going to fit into every single gym, and I think Shogun knows that. So in the comments, let me know where you fit in. Are these a nope, never gonna happen? Are these a I could see picking these up one day for travel purposes or the hack type solutions like I mentioned? Or maybe you're in Camp C where you're like, hey, this is really what I needed. I'm glad this exists and I'm picking them up today. Let me know in the comments which one you fit into and what you think. Remember that if you fall into Camp B or C and you think you're gonna pick these up, I've got the discount code and link for you in the description. Please check those out. And with that, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more of what I've got coming up soon, hit that subscribe button. If you want to check out what I'm doing next and vote to tell me what you think I should include in that list, hit the link in the description of the review pipeline where you can check all that out. And I'll be back with more home gym awesomeness for all of you very soon.